All right, here.
Alex, you got to turn off your microphone.
All right, so our workshop today, I don't know why it's not sharing. There we go. Is focused on giving feedback to student writing, especially in this online space. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. Can other people hear me? Okay, so,
We can hear you. We can. No problem.
Okay. Okay. We are recording this, so if you do have connection problems at any point, Haldun will be uploading this to the TDU YouTube channel and sharing the link. So if for any reason your connection, cuts out, you can always catch up on YouTube later. So I want to be honest and say feedback is something that I think a lot of us were struggling with even before all of this happened. And since we've moved into the online space, I think it has become even more challenging. So a lot of what I've heard from people in my professional development group, from people that attended the workshop I gave at TESOL Turkey, this is one of the biggest challenges, I think, that we have, especially those of us who are focused on teaching reading and writing. So we really wanted to take some time and just kind of dig into some of the things that we're doing and hopefully have a chance to hear from you as well. So our agenda today, I'm going to start with some tips and best practices. And I think a lot of these are things you probably already know, but for me at least, it's always good to have a reminder. Funda, Haldun, and I will then share some of our different approaches to giving feedback using the error code. Haldun and Funda will talk about in-class error correction activities and kind of the gamification of that. And then we'll share some of our favorite tech tools that can be used for both immediate and delayed feedback on student writing. Then, as I said, we want to have some time at the end for your ideas and questions. So, some of the tips and best practices that I've seen in a lot of the articles that I've been reading about giving feedback. And again, I think a lot of you know these. I think all of you know these things. I think most of you are probably doing them, but I think it's always good to have that reminder. And these are some of the things that I struggle with when I'm giving feedback. And so that's why we're taking a little bit of time here. So the first thing is always include something positive. Think about the feedback sandwich, right? Something positive, something to work on, and then something positive. And this is something Beatrice reminds us every time when we're doing a writing assessment. Not every mistake needs to be marked. And yes, Richard, exactly. I kind of get into my editor mode. In previous jobs I've had, I've kind of been the go-to copy editor. And so I just tend to focus on a lot of the mistakes. They're easy, right? Those little grammar mistakes or the spelling mistakes. In some ways, those are the easy things to mark. And so sometimes I have to slow down and say, wait a second, what are the good things here? And I don't need to mark everything because A, that's very discouraging for the students. And B, that's very tiring for us as instructors if we're marking every little mistake. So one of the things that I try to remind myself is that writing is a communicative act, right? The purpose of, at least especially the longer assignments, the paragraphs or the essays, the purpose is to convey meaning, right? To get something across. If we're only marking the grammar mistakes in our students' essays or paragraphs, it becomes a grammar exercise and not a writing task, okay? And, again, this is something I have to remind myself, and it helps me to think about our rubrics that we use for our assessments and exams. And I don't think it's an accident that our rubrics start with content, right? That's the first category in our rubric. And the second category is organization. So when I'm thinking about giving student feedback, I like to start with this big picture and say, what is their content? Did they get their message across, right? And so the feedback that I give to them starts with that bigger picture, and then it kind of drills down into more of the details and the minutia of grammar and form. But meaning is really the reason why we're asking them to write, to convey meaning, to express an idea. So those are some of the things that I wanted to start with. And then I think, Funda, you are going to talk about writing as a process and how the different levels connect.
Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Can I share this now? Yeah, but there is some kind of technical hitch here that I can't show the whole slide. But the message I'm trying to give here, after having taught at level C and level D, goodness knows how many years, this year, for the first time, I had the chance to teach level B writing classes. And the thing I noticed, which actually is something obvious, that if you go through the objectives, level B objectives, level C objectives, they are right there, you know, on Blackboard. Everything is there, but doing the job gave me another perspective into writing, because the paragraphs that students were supposed to write, we started with a descriptive paragraph level in level B, and then moved on to a reason paragraph. Then the last thing we did was to write a one-sided opinion paragraph. Right? So when I again moved on to level C, the task types are so similar to each other that students, you know, need to see this as a, you know, 16-week process. If someone can write a reason paragraph well, there's no reason why they can't write a cause essay. The only thing they do differently is to, you know, expand the topic sentence and give examples, and for each main idea, they need to open a new paragraph. So this experience really has been an eye-opener for me. And when I started teaching level C writing classes, the first thing I shared with my students was, this is not something earth-shattering. You did this before. You know, you wrote these paragraphs before. So please don't be discouraged by the number of essays. Don't think that they are something completely new. And it works so well. I hope I'm not late to, you know, share this with my dear colleagues who's especially teaching, the ones who are teaching level C and maybe didn't teach level B writing classes before. I thought that this would be worth sharing. So that was it.
All right, thank you, Funda.
You're welcome.
I think we can move on to you sharing about your approach using the error correction code.
Actually, my approach is different. I told you maybe I shouldn't share this from sharing files, but maybe through the screen I should do it, because otherwise I won't be able to share the whole thing. Okay. So, yeah, I think it will work better this time. Can you see it? This was a slide that I was supposed to share. Can everyone see it? Okay.
Yes.
So, different from yours, Jan, I have to confess that I have partly given up on using the error code. Partly because one thing that I noticed over years, students do not really pay attention to my using the error code and spending lots of time to give feedback, because it's a two-way street, as you know, and students need to put their hand under the stone and do the follow-up work. Because this not never, but very rarely happened, I developed a new approach towards giving feedback and towards correction, actually. So what you're looking at now is the wiki page that my students send their homework to. And I use different colors to draw attention to mistakes. And I also provide them with some corrections. That's how I started giving feedback this year. This is the following page from the same essay. which is finalized by some important points, like you can see from 1 to 5. So the thing here, most of you must be thinking that, what if I have, 40 students? Can I really do this for 40 different students? One thing that I noticed that maybe more than half of the class send homework. This is my number, maybe yours is higher than mine. So my class, there are 13 students at the moment, and like 8 of them send me homework on a regular basis. So I actually make time to give this kind of feedback and use different colors and explain what the problem is. So this is how I, approach corrections and mistakes this year. And the feedback from students has been quite positive. And over the 8 weeks, when I, consider their improvement over time, the ones who send me homework regularly and take this feedback into consideration actually managed to get very high grades from writing and managed to move up to another level. So it seems to be working. That's how I see it. That's my version of approaching mistakes, Jen.
Okay.
Maybe Haldun has something else to add.
Okay.
Thanks. Haldun, did you want to share yours?
Okay. And I completely agree with Funda. For the error coding, we use error codes. We want the students to be aware of their own mistakes and put some mental effort and then not repeat the same mistakes, because if we make the corrections all the time, they just look at the corrections or they don't. So what I want to do in my classes is, as I'm sure you all do that, peer correction, student-centered correction. And there are different ways of doing that. I'd like to share 2 ways. One of them is making the students correct their mistakes in a game-like activity. Even if I say game, it has a good aura on the students, good impact on the students. Let me share my screen, what I mean with this. Yeah, that's the magic word, Richard. So it says, last module, I taught C Start 17, and episode 4 means this is the 4th time we're working on their sentences. How I do that? Before we start the lesson, I put the students into groups, but not in breakout rooms. Okay, let's say there are 16 students, 4 students in each group. I say Ali, Aisha, Ceren, and Ibrahim, you are in group A, and the other students B, C, and D, but not in breakout rooms. All of us are in the main hall, okay? And then I show them this. There are questions, and each question is worth different points. So as a group, they select, for example, question 18. They start with 1 point, okay? We look at question 18, and they type, by the way, when they are answering as a whole group, I ask my students to turn their mic on, and if we are lucky, they do that. I was lucky last module. They turned their mic on, and then they talk to each other, and they type the answer in the chat box. And if they give correct answer, they get 1 point as a group. But if they can't give the correct answer, they lose 1 point because they selected 1 point question. When they can't answer the question, that question is open. So in each sentence, there is a mistake. So I ask the students to make the correction. For example, some people are in favor of university students having a part-time job. To begin with, some people claim that students should work part-time. So even if it starts with to begin with, there is no idea. It just repeats the topic sentence of the paragraph. So that's the mistake. I want them to find it, and if they find it, they get 1 point. If they can't, the question will be open to whole class. Whoever finds the answer, types it, and that student's group gets the point. So it's not like that only 4 students trying to work and the rest are just doing something else. No, they are also alert. Why? Because if they can't give the answer, they are ready to enter, press enter and get the point. Or for example, if they take a risk, 6-point question. So if they can give the correct answer to this question, they'll get 6 points. Yes, but they talk to each other, and then they write individually in the chat box. As a group, they talk to each other and then they finally write their answer in the chat box. Or, as Jen highlighted, the content and message importance. Sometimes they regard writing lessons as kind of rehearsal of the vocabulary and grammar. But it is not. We all know that when we write essays. So sometimes I also select some mistakes that are not focused on the grammar, but also meaning-wise. So although this paragraph seems quite well, there's an irrelevant sentence, not appropriate. There are many places where students can work and gain experience. This defeats the purpose of the paragraph because the paragraph says students shouldn't work while studying at university. So then we come back again. So this is the okay. They are not in breakout rooms. We are all in the same room, okay? And I orally tell them, Ali, Cem, Ibrahim, you are group A. Ceren, Ece, Murat, you are group B. Okay, we are in the same room. If it is their question, they turn their mic on, they talk to each other, and they write their answer in the chat box. As I said, if we are lucky, last module, I was lucky and it worked. That's why I'm sharing this with you. This is one way. And the other one is, I put the students in breakout rooms this time, okay, different ways. In this way, again peer correction, I put the students in 4 breakout rooms and 4 different documents. You see Google documents. So each group has a different link, but they work on the same 7 sentences. So the same 7 sentences are given to the students. I put them in breakout rooms, they turn their mic on and they talk to each other and they can write and make any corrections. But I tell them when, okay, then you can keep, I know Jan, you can keep these activities in your repertoire, and if you if you think that you can do these activities in time, in the future, you can do, right? And I tell them to highlight their corrections. For example, they use different colors, they use bold, write it bold, or highlight that. If you think that error correction is a bit far-fetching, if you think that no, my students can only write their own essay, I can't ask them to make corrections in their friends' essays, so here is another way. You see, we are full of ways, friends, full of ways. You ask me, we find another way. You know, Padlet, students write their paragraphs here. So my students wrote their paragraphs. So you can give feedback in a written way, as Funda showed. But sometimes I feel that there are other things that I need to talk to the students. I need to say this. I can't write everything I want to say to the students. I'm sure you also feel it. sometimes. We can't write everything. If we do that, we write more than the student has written. So this way, let me share it again because I need to turn the audio part. For example, when a student writes a paragraph, I record my voice. It's so easy. Funda is going to show how to do that in a minute. I record, and the student can hear my oral feedback on his or her written work.
Hey Elif, thank you for your paragraph. I highlighted some of the points that you need to pay attention to. Let's start. I really like the topic sentence. You start with a topic sentence instead of first of all. Many people think that. Okay. If you write only household chores, that's are. But sharing household chores is a thing.
Like that, the students can also get the oral feedback. Thank you. Funda?
Coming. Just a second. So you're looking at my one of the Padlets. Thank you very much, Haldun, by the way. Thank you so much for this. One of the things that I started doing in class, on top of giving voice recorded feedback, is to actually use Padlet for different purpose. So in one of my lessons last week, I asked them what kind of problems they have, and they have to go through it every day. And there was a reading passage about that. And then I asked them the same question. They came up with some problems, okay? And then students, their classmates, made some suggestions, as you can see from the Padlet here. So here, if I click on this, I hope, oops, not this one. Okay, I hope you can see it. Here, you can see the arrow going up. It means that you can share it with anyone you like. You can add a video. You can add a GIF, actually. So that's what we did during the class. For every suggestion they made, I tried to came up with either a video link that you can see here on the screen, or something that, you know, is moving. So I told them that I am bored with housework, and they made some suggestions by sending me some GIFs. So on top of voice recorded written feedback, I think these things really keep our students engaged, and in fact helps me to keep them engaged in the lesson and interact with each other by sending their responses right there and then. So this was one thing that I did that maybe some of you already know, but I tried it for the first time. By just click on these links, you can find the GIFs, find the videos, add a photo. For example, here, one of my students said, I am very bad at cooking. And here you can see the video link from Refika'nın Mutfağı. There is a lasagna recipe from one of my students. Nice suggestions, also some interactive tools that they can use during the lessons. Let me show that to you once more. If you click here, click on more, you see that you can upload a photo, you can do your audio recording like Haldun does. So they can draw, they can add GIFs, etc. There are multiple things that you can do with Padlet. But one of the problems with Padlet is that, as you might already know, it is limited to 5 Padlets. So if you want to do something like, you know, at the top of your head in the middle of the lesson, and if you have already used your right for 5, then you have to delete your previous work. And it's not so convenient, especially if you are in a hurry. And for this one, to overcome this problem, There is another tool that I'd like to introduce, and here I shouldn't forget. Yes, but still the number is limited to 5. You know, you have to be able to create a new one. It may not be so user-friendly, especially if you are in a rush. If you plan that beforehand, yes, but otherwise I don't find it so convenient. Yep. All right, another tool that I'm going to share with you now, and I'd like to thank Michelle for this, because after a workshop or a talk like this one, she came to talk to me about the writing tools, feedback tools actually, that she's using in class with her students, and she introduced me to Nearpod. And thank you very much, Michelle. I think you are in the audience. And since then, I've been using Nearpod. Nearpod actually is a collection of interactive slides. You can find ready-made slides here, depending on what you're going to teach that day. But what I'm using is Quick Launch. Okay, let me show that to you. So this Collaborate board is different from our Blackboard Collaborate. So don't confuse these two. When I click on this, you can see that you can enter the topic. Imagine I ask you, not imagine, I am writing the question now. Which tools do you use to give feedback? Okay, here is my question. I can add a picture, but I don't need it now. My favorite is the cork sticky note. Okay, this is like online sticky notes that we use to remind ourselves of important things. It is just those sticky notes are on this board. Okay, so then I click on Quick Launch. Yep. As soon as I do that, it gives me a code. This code you can share with your students, or you can copy the link and put it in the chat box, just like I am doing now. And you can, in fact, get their responses so quickly. And every time students, you can also have a look at their answers before you share them on the board, okay? Sometimes we get some ridiculous responses. So I will say yes. And if you want, we can try this, see how it works. You can quickly click on the link, and or use the code, nearpod.com. Code is S3ZQW, okay? So, as you can see here, I have one. It means that one student has already sent his or her response. Okay. I have to accept this, I guess. All right. Any other responses? Let's see. From Richard, he uses Blackboard. I can organize this according to the students' names, time that they send their response, or the number of likes. So you can organize the board. Oh, I'm lucky. I have more answers. Alrighty, so here we go. Yep. So you can, in fact, click on the ones that you think is the best. The number of likes will give us the highest number of likes. All right. So why, as I said before, this one is, I find it very teacher friendly and students love it. And they always respond to my questions, and you can, in fact, share what they think their thoughts are, their, short sentences, one paragraph, maybe, not for long written texts. Yes, can still have Collaborate open. Of course, You don't need to change anything. You know, you follow your usual routine. The only thing is that you share this application on your Blackboard screen. That's it. And one thing I was going to say, the only thing is you cannot make corrections on the student's writing right there and then. You need to open another sticky note to refer to the mistakes. But I don't think it's a big deal. You know, students can correct their mistakes if you draw their attention to common mistakes. It can be used for variety of purposes. And I highly recommend that, you try this one day. And if you do, please send me your feedback. Okay. Haldun, do you have something else to share?
Sure, I can add one thing here. For example, Funda, that's wonderful app. And we can use this app to ask students share their ideas. For example, as you did, which tools to use to give feedback, and then we shared our ideas. But we can also do it as student-centered error correction. For example, instead of which tools to use to give feedback, we can write there a sentence with a mistake and ask the students, okay, there's a mistake, write the correction in the notes, sticky notes, and they can write the corrected version of that sentence by using this Nearpod. So we can use it.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. Actually, this is great for peer correction. Yeah. Not only teacher-centered correction, but because students like the app and find it very user-friendly, they'd like to do anything that you ask them to do if you use this tool.
We can use it for these activities as well. Thank you.
As well. Thank you. Thank you too. Anything that you want to add, or shall I move on to my next? Haldun?
You can move on to the next one.
Okay, all right. I'm going to share another application that I started using very recently. I mentioned this in one of my earlier talks. Some of you can remember this. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So imagine that you are supposed to give written feedback to your whole class. And imagine like 10 or 15 or maybe more of your students sent their homework to you. You have a very hardworking class. So like Haldun said earlier, you can't really write everything. Even if you do, we know that students do not tend to read everything or do whatever it is required to do afterwards. So through this app, I started giving recorded feedback again. I talk over the written work that students send me. How do you do that? It's very easy to do that. You see here the record for free. You don't have to be a member of the site. Okay, you don't have to sign up for this. As soon as you click on this, not here, of course. Sorry. Click on this. You launch free recorder. It doesn't take very long. And you say open screen Customatic. Difficult to say. Sorry. As soon as you do that, you see the recording button here. So here, I can see my screen. But the problem with this, if you click on record immediately, then you record whatever you have on your desktop. You need to open the document that you want to talk over, which I'm going to share through the slide that I created earlier. I'm not going to share this one, so that I'm not going to take much of your time. Here is my, yes, here it is. Can you see the students writing here? Okay, thank you very much. So as you can see, I use different colors. I cross over some of the words that normally this would take me too much to explain if I'm to write everything that I corrected in this written work. Instead, through Screencast-O-Matic, you look at this screen and you talk over the student's written work. And I'm going to share that video with you right now.
Voice after 2 lessons in a row this morning. I'm a bit tired. I'm sorry if I make mistakes while talking to you. So the story that you sent me is quite interesting, and I can feel that it really happened. You know, you didn't make this up. And the way that you put sentences together was quite good, and I didn't find it difficult to understand what you were trying to say. As you can see here, you have 2 colors in this paragraph. Green is for the bits that you need to work on and you need to make some corrections too. And the purples are my suggestions and corrections. Let's start with the first sentence. The story starts like this. 2 years ago, you and your friends went to Prague in Czech Republic. You used me and my friends. It is, usually acceptable while speaking, but when writing, we tend to ask you actually to use my friends and I. If someone comes before you, if you are with other people, then they should come first, okay? My friends and I went to Prague in Czech Republic. And you went there with your English teacher. You went there because of the contest called Urfodu. I changed because of to attend an international contest. Okay, because you didn't have to go there. You didn't have to do it, but you went there to enjoy the contest and have the experience. So that's why I changed it to attend an international contest. It was a very good experience for us because we had to. Here you say had to, okay? Instead, you can say had the opportunity. Why? Because to is followed by a word, but there's no action here. The opportunity is a noun. You had the opportunity to meet people from all around the world. So you use stranger people. That's, I think, because of Turkish. It's the Turkish interfering here with your mind. And in fact, you need to say you meet people, yabancı insanlar değil, people from all over the world, okay? So I hope it makes sense. By the way, if you happen to have any questions about these corrections, you know that you can always get back to me and ask your questions.
So, John, I saw a question and I sent this feedback to my student through WhatsApp, but if you don't want to use WhatsApp, then you can, in fact, find another way of doing it, sending an email. So it's not a big video, the quality sound recording is so good that students would definitely appreciate it. The thing maybe here, I got my student feedback about this. Right, let's have a look at this. And after I sent her the feedback, I'm sorry, this is in Turkish, but the student sent me this feedback. I asked her what she thought of this voice recorded feedback. She said that it was very good to see and understand the logic behind the mistakes and corrections. Also, she saw this as an opportunity to have some listening practice. So it worked. I'm going to continue to use this. And if you're interested, I can do another, 15-20 minute session to teach you, not to teach you, I'm sorry for the choice of word, to show you how to do this. Okay, it's not a big deal. And I also add the links that I'm going to share with you later on if you like to, or you can take a screenshot of the PowerPoint. For this app, there are 2 training videos that you might like to watch. That's what I did and started using it. That's all from me, Haldun. I'm sorry I kept you too long waiting for me.
No, that's okay. Fine. Thank you.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Jen, anything you would like to add?
Definitely. So I know we're getting close to the end of our session, but if you guys can stick around for just a couple more minutes, I'd like to share with you my favorite tool that I've been using a lot. And that those of you who came to my T-Cell Turkeys session might have seen this. It is Jamboard. So let me find these. Okay, so I like to use Jamboard in class for some immediate feedback. One thing, let's see. Yes, okay, so here is an example of, if students are just learning how to use linkers, you can give them some sentences to combine. And I've created this slide deck, or this Jamboard, with some examples at different levels. So here I'm asking them to combine using simple connecting words. And what I would do with this type of Jamboard is put the students in breakout rooms and have them work together to combine the sentences, kind of like we would have done in the classroom. And then they can use our text tool to add their sentences here. Something like this. And it does take a little bit of time to kind of understand or navigate your way around Jamboard. But let me just show you. This is an example for a slightly higher level using a different type of words to make relative clauses. And then for upper int-ish, you might recognize these. These are actually taken from some of the supplementary materials. So using despite and although, or even though. And let me share with you, if I can, one of the examples of what my students did with that one. So here is a sample from one of my actual classes. And they were combining cause and effect, using cause and effect linkers. And so as they were working in their groups, I could navigate to the different pages and give them feedback, right? So this feedback, I think I gave while they were doing the activity. And then afterwards, we could talk about them together, right? Afterwards, we added that this is actually the effect and this one is the cause. And I used the Post-it note tool, sticky note tool, to add my feedback here. And I did go back after the class to clarify some of the changes and suggestions that I made. I have also used Jamboard to have students practice writing things like, let me see, thesis statements. So here is an example. This one's a little bit messy, but I think you get the idea once it pops up. There it is. So the causes of bullying, write a thesis statement for an essay on this topic. So here we've got group 1s, group 3, and I think group 2 did not label theirs. But again, I added my feedback a little bit later with some of the sticky notes, and then I gave the standard or the suggested answer. And so we've got some of those here. I had already talked to my students about parallel structure, and you can use the pen tool, right, for making some other suggestions. And one other thing, Jamboard kind of works, it seems like, in a similar way to Padlet or to Nearpod, in that students can add pictures and create like their own page. So I actually did this one last week or a couple weeks ago. there was a listening about gap years, and I wanted students to create something and be creative in the way that they did that. So I put them into groups and asked them to design their own gap year. They could add pictures, they could do drawings, and then add some text about that. And then they had a chance to share it in their groups. And then I asked for a few volunteers to share with the larger class when we got back to the main room. So Jamboard is my new favorite tool. I've used it a lot, but now I'm excited to try things like Nearpod and some of the cool things I didn't know that Padlet could do, I have to admit. But like Funda said, if you want another training session, maybe a shorter one, to kind of go through some of the different functions and the different tools and how to share things, because for this one, you do need to, change permissions. Right. So anyone with this link can edit, and then you copy the link. But we can do separate trainings on that to just kind of dig into these tools some more if you are interested. And yes, Jamboard is free to access, and I have not found it limited yet. I have probably 24 Jamboards at this point. And because it's a Google tool, I think Google likes to have things unlimited. So yes, I guess let us know which tools you'd be interested in having an additional session on, and we can schedule those in the coming weeks, I think, sometime. So, whew, I'm sorry that was really fast, but do you guys, Funda or Haldun, do you have anything else you want to add?
I was gonna say this thing actually, but maybe this should come all from all the trainers, that we are open to your demands. Okay, if you want a session from us on a certain tool, please let us know. We would make time and answer your questions. Just let us know.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being here.
Yes, and I'd like to thank all my friends, colleagues for joining, for their contribution. It's been a pleasure. We missed a lot being together. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you face to face. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And John, yes, if you want to stick around, you said you had a question.
Thank you, Yasemin.
Hello, this is Donald. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to turn on my camera, if you don't mind. Oh, I'm sorry, John, were you going to ask a question? I apologize.
No problem, Donald. You can go first.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yours is probably more relevant.
Actually, mine's about my personal development project, and I'm going to ask for some help from everybody who's here. I've created a website, and it's about feedback from the teacher to the learner. So basically, I want to know how the learner feels about the feedback, how the learner's receiving his feedback, and which method is most helpful for the learner. Okay, guys, I'm going to ask you help later, because I need you to ask the students to complete 3 questions on the website. Okay, I can type in the link now so you can have a look at it. It's in the feedback forum. The questions are 1, 2, and 3. Okay, my partner in crime, Dennis, is also working on a personal development project, and she wants you guys to complete questions A, B, and C. Okay.
John, where are the questions? Can you say that again?
They're on the feedback forum page.
On the link.
Yeah, on the link, yeah. But I want you guys to ask the students, the learners, if they can complete the 3 questions about their feedback.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your help.
You're welcome, John.
John, I clicked on the link, but it looks like a general page.
Web page.
It will take you to the home page first,